foraging tour with wild man Steve Brill. He is a very interesting guy who does little nature walks throughout parks in New York City and the surrounding areas. And basically you go on one of these tours and you walk for like 4 hours and he will point out like every single kind of like wild edible that is there. He'll give you all the information about how to tell that it is an edible kind and not a look-alike that might be poisonous, what to do with it, recipes to do with it. Then you go out and you pick it. So you can take home like a big bag full of all sorts of like roots and nuts and seeds and berries and leaves and things like that to make food out of later. It was really, really interesting.
First you have to identify them. If you just go and take a leaf like this one. Ah! I'm dead, everyone go home.
We have our money back?
First thing we have to do is identify the plant. What are its features? Does it have leaves and tubes? Is there a fungus growing on it? What does it smell like? Oh, stinkweed. So we're going to identify plants and collect them ecologically. We're going to collect things that are so common they have to keep cutting them down with the mowers and they keep growing back again.
If you live in New York City or are coming to New York City, check it out. I'll put his website right here, the Wildman Steve Brill's website. You can pick up his books as well. He's got a lot of different books on like cooking wild food, how to forage for wild food, and he's got an app as well. So anyway, I went on this tour and mostly I was looking for fruit, okay? Mostly I just wanted to try like some kind of like new berry or something. And there wasn't really that much. You know, I think that most of the fruits, it was just kind of like the off-season for it. But at the very end of the tour, somebody in the group just kind of like wandered off and they came across a tree that Steve Brill didn't even know it was there because it wasn't an area that he normally goes into, but it had a chokecherry tree. And this is something that I have never had before. I've never seen this before. I've had chokeberries before. Chokeberries are different. They are not related whatsoever, but they do have like a similar look, especially when these get a little bit darker. Chokecherries are related to black cherries, like the kind you'd buy at the supermarket. The only difference is that word choke. The word choke is in there because these, if you eat them, are very, very sour, very, very bitter, and very, very, very astringent. So it's not so pleasant to eat. But you can do a lot with them. You can take these and you can make jam out of them, you can make juice out of them, you can make syrups out of them, you can make wine out of them, you can make liquor out of them, you can dry them out and eat them that way, you can make like little, these were used extensively by Native Americans. They used to take the whole berries and grind them with the pit and everything and make like a cake out of it, and they'd eat it kind of like a nature bar. Do not do that unless you really know what you're doing or do a lot of research about it, because these are actually very highly poisonous. Not the fleshy part of the berry, but the pit is very poisonous. The leaves are very poisonous. The stem is very poisonous. It's all very poisonous unless you know what you're doing and you know how to prepare it properly. Then supposedly it could be used for like medicines and stuff like that. But the berries themselves, the fleshy part of the berries, those are okay. If you wait until these turn darker, they turn to, I believe for most common varieties, they turn black. And when they're black, those are when they're at their best. They're a little bit sweeter then. And in this state, they're going to be a little more sour, bitter, and astringent than if you were to wait a little bit longer. But if you wanted to make jam out of these and not use pectin, it's better to pick them in this form because when they're a little bit on the under-riper side, they have more pectin in them. So I think I'm going to try to make something out of this. I'm going to make juice, and maybe if the juice isn't so good, I'm going to make jam out of it. But in the first place, let's just see what the fresh berry tastes like. Mmm. So, there is the seed. It's very small, as you can see. probably the size of like a lemon seed. But if you look at it, it looks kind of like a little cherry pit. And the flavor is dry mouth. It is dry mouth flavored. The moment you put it on your tongue, your mouth just kind of like goes all cottony. I've been reading that these are supposed to be really bitter and really sour, and I'm not getting that. I'm just getting astringency. So honestly, there really isn't like much depth to the flavor. I think you could probably imagine what it tastes like, just like dry mouth and just a very like muted cherry currant, like red currant kind of flavor with very little bitterness or sourness. That's kind of about it. A little bit of grass kind of flavor to it, but unremarkable. However, I'm going to try to make some juice out of this, and let's see how that goes. Okay, so the first step of making this juice is I'm going to have to separate all these berries out of here. You're going to want to get rid of these leaves. You do not want those leaves. Those are poison. You do not want these stems. That is poison. I'd say you want to go through here and get these little cherries off. And I would say it's probably even a good idea if you see like a little stem in there to remove that stem as well. So I'm going to do that to all of these and put them in here. One. Also, it's not a good idea to use ones that are not red yet. Like this one here looks a little bit yellow still, so I'm going to discard that. You just want to get the ones that are nice, like dark red color. So anytime you see one that is not red at all, get rid of that. Okay, well, there you go. That was really tedious, but not too bad. I filled this with water just to kind of like clean off any dirt or bugs or little stems that might have fallen in here. Every time I make a video where I'm cooking something on my stove, you guys like to say that I have a dirty stove, so check it out. I cleaned it. Is this okay? Good. I also cleaned my nails. I get a lot of complaints about my nails. Those are alright? Look good? I got a manicure just for this video. I hope it's alright. But, okay, so the next step is I got a nice little pot here. I don't have a whole lot of berries, so I'm not going to use like a big pot. But if you were to do this properly and do it with like a huge ton of berries, like, you know, the recipe that I'm using online called for 10 cups, you obviously want a big giant pot. I got about 1.5 cups of berries. And what that means is I'm going to take half that amount of water and add that much water to here. 1.5, here is 1/2, here is 1/4. So 3/4 of water to 1.5 cups of berries. The recipe I'm using says to let it simmer for 15 minutes. So I'm going to let this cook a little bit and do just that. It's been cooking here, and if you look inside there, you see that some of the berries are, well, they're softening and they're like splitting a little bit. That means that it is time to start mashing. So I got a potato masher here, and I'm just going to try to get all that juice out of there. And when you cook it like this, it's supposed to kill off some of that cyanide in there as well. So this is always a good idea. If you're like a little hesitant to be eating fruit that has poison in so many parts of it, then this might set your mind at ease a little bit. But as I said, the fruit is supposed to be fine. So there you go. It kind of looks like Nesquik, like strawberry milk, but it appears to be done. So, you should probably use something that is not a plastic container, but whatever. So I'm just going to pour it through this strainer. There we go. And just push out all of that juice. It's not producing nearly as much as I thought it would. I guess because like these cherries have like so much seed to them and a lot of flesh as well. So it's not making a whole lot. I don't think I really have enough to make a jam out of. I think I'm just going to make kind of like a juice. So let's see how much we have. This is a little half cup. So there is 1/2 and so not quite 1 cup. So whatever you end up doing, it will, after you take all the pits and stuff out of it, it'll leave you with about half of the water and fruit that you put into it, maybe a little bit less than half of that. The recipe that I'm using online calls to make a concentrate. And what they say is to put basically 1/3 of the amount of sugar as the juice you have here. So 1 part sugar to 3 parts juice. If you want to make a concentrate, I'd say do this and then just don't add any extra water to it. And then when you want to have this juice, you just add water to it. So here is a 1/3 cup of sugar that I'm going to put in there, and I'm going to bring this to a rolling boil. It's boiling, so I'm going to turn the heat off, and I'm going to add an equal amount of water to this. So if I put in 1 cup of juice and 1/3 of sugar, that means I'm going to put 1 cup of water. I mean, the sugar would probably get dissolved in it, so I don't think I'm going to add that much water, that much more water to it. Smells nice. It's got a slight berry kind of smell to it, but still kind of mild. Most importantly, what does this taste like? Let's give it a shot. That is really good. That's really, really nice. Not what I was expecting. It is not. It's not really like a strong fruit flavor. It's like if you like cherry juice, you might not like this. It's like it's a very mild and kind of like creamy kind of flavor. I think like the sugar definitely helps. It gets rid of that stringency. There's a little bit there, but it's mostly gone. It gets rid of the Pepto-Bismol kind of taste. Also like maybe a little bit there, but mostly gone. It's not very sour. It's pretty low. I'd say like out of a 1 to 10, with a 10 being a lemon and 1 being water. I put this around like a 2. With the sugar and the dilution to it, it's totally tolerable. You might want to actually like put some lemon juice or another kind of fruit juice in here to like perk up the flavor a little bit, because it is just kind of like a refreshing, mild kind of flavor. And yeah, oddly creamy. That's kind of like, I was not expecting creaminess to it. It's got like almost like a strawberry milk kind of taste to it. This is, surprisingly good. I wasn't expecting much, tasting it off the tree. It's kind of like, it's not so good. It's not so interesting. It's astringent. I wasn't expecting this to be very good as a juice. But when you do add sugar and water and you boil out some of that bitterness and that astringency to it, it's really nice and really refreshing. It's a light, but a really nice beverage. So if you have a Chokecherry tree nearby, or you think you do, check it out. Make sure it's what you think it is and it's not going to kill you. Use Steve Brill's app, which I'll put a link in the description below. Use a foraging book. There's, I believe there's a site, Eat the Weeds, that you can use, or just do a Google search. Make sure you got the right one. Get them. Do what I did. Take out the stems, the leaves, and all of that stuff. Filter out the pits. Make yourself some juice, Make the concentrate if you like, make a jam, make a wine, make a dried berry. There's a lot of things you could do with this thing, but just by having the juice, I think it's certainly something to check out. So have fun. Thanks. Hey guys, don't click out on the window just yet, okay? Listen to me for 1 second. I just want to take a quick moment and tell you about my Patreon page that I just started. This is a way for fans of my series to help contribute and make my show even greater, and to expand on content, get new videos, and give you some cool bonuses and rewards. So if you have a moment, just click on this video right here, click on me, and it'll take you to my Patreon page where you can learn more. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Bye-bye. I made this video too long. Yeah, you can, if you don't want to go to the Patreon page, it's okay. You can also click on one of these fruit videos. There's one over here. You can go to the next episode, and you can go down over here to go to the last week's episode, and yeah. Oh yeah, subscribe. Subscribing is helpful, and like it's good. Liking it is good. And leave a comment if you want to leave a comment. You know, tell me what you think. If you liked it, you hated it. Yeah. Okay, that's it. Bye bye.